The world is a stage, and we are merely players, or so they say. But what happens when the playwright is an organization shrouded in secrecy, pulling strings we can't even begin to see? Today, we uncover some of the most secretive operations in U.S. history, peeling back the layers of plausible deniability to reveal the uncomfortable truths lurking beneath. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear might just shatter your perception of reality. We're about to delve into the shadowy world of the CIA, where things are rarely what they seem. From mind control experiments to covert media manipulation, prepare to be shocked, disturbed, and maybe even a little bit terrified. Our first stop on this unsettling tour takes us back to the 1950s, the era of poodle skirts, McCarthyism, and, as it turns out, some seriously messed up government experiments. This was the age of Project MKUltra, a top-secret CIA program that aimed to, well, control your mind. Imagine being a soldier, programmed to act against your will, a sleeper agent waiting for the right trigger. It sounds like the stuff of science fiction, but for the unwitting participants of MKUltra, it was all too real. The CIA, convinced they were lagging behind the Soviets in mind control technology, went all in, dosing unsuspecting subjects with LSD, hypnotizing them, and employing all sorts of other questionable techniques, all in the name of national security. Let's be clear, giving people LSD without their knowledge is not exactly ethical, even if you're convinced the fate of the free world is at stake. And the CIA, bless their hearts, seem to have a very loose definition of consent. We're talking about experiments conducted on prisoners, mental patients, and even members of the general public. People who, in many cases, had no idea they were being used as guinea pigs in a twisted psychological experiment. The program was shrouded in secrecy, hidden even from Congress for years. But thanks to the tireless efforts of investigative journalists and the Church Committee, a Senate Select Committee formed in the 1970s to investigate intelligence abuses, the curtain was eventually pulled back. What they found was a program so disturbing, so morally bankrupt, that it sent shockwaves through the nation. The revelations about MKUltra weren't just about the unethical experiments themselves. They were about the culture of secrecy and impunity that allowed such a program to exist in the first place. It raised serious questions about the limits of government power, the importance of oversight, and the very nature of informed consent. MKUltra was eventually shut down, but its legacy continues to haunt us. It serves as a stark reminder of what can happen when unchecked power meets a thirst for control, and the devastating consequences for those caught in the crosshairs. From mind control, we move on to something equally insidious: media manipulation. Now, we all know the media can be a bit of a circus, but imagine a world where the clowns are literally on the CIA's payroll. That's the unsettling reality of Operation Mockingbird, a covert program that saw the CIA meddling in the media like a toddler with finger paints. Except the finger paints were propaganda, and the canvas was the American public's perception of reality. We're not talking about planting a few favorable articles here and there. Operation Mockingbird was a full-blown covert operation, involving the CIA secretly influencing journalists, publications, and even entire media organizations. Imagine your favorite news anchor, the one you trust to deliver unbiased information, secretly taking cues from a shadowy government agency. It's enough to make you want to ditch the news and just watch paint dry. Now, the CIA has always maintained that Operation Mockingbird was primarily focused on countering Soviet propaganda during the Cold War. But the scope of the program and the extent to which it blurred the lines between journalism and espionage is deeply troubling. Think about the implications for a moment. If the CIA can secretly influence the news, how can we be sure what's real and what's fabricated? It erodes public trust in institutions, fuels cynicism, and makes it incredibly difficult to have an informed public debate. The revelations about Operation Mockingbird, which came to light in the 1970s thanks to investigations by Congress and journalists, sent shockwaves through the media world. It forced a reckoning within the industry, a long overdue conversation about ethics, transparency, and the responsibility of journalists to hold power to account. The legacy of Operation Mockingbird is a stark reminder of the fragility of a free press and the importance of vigilance in the face of covert attempts to manipulate information. It also highlights the slippery slope of government secrecy and the dangers of allowing intelligence agencies to operate without proper oversight. Hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get really messy. We're diving into the murky waters of the Iran-Contra Affair, a scandal so convoluted, so full of twists and turns, that it would make even the most seasoned spy novelist blush. This wasn't just about shady backroom deals. It was about the U.S. government, under the watchful eye of President Ronald Reagan, secretly selling arms to Iran, a country we were explicitly forbidden from trading with. And if that wasn't bad enough, they then used the money to fund anti-communist rebels in Nicaragua, a move that was expressly prohibited by Congress. It's like a bad action movie plot, but with real-world implications. Imagine a world where the government can just decide to ignore the law, to operate outside the bounds of its own constitution, all in the name of some nebulous national interest. It's enough to make you question everything you thought you knew about how the world works. The Iran-Contra Affair was a tangled web of secret arms deals, covert operations, and political maneuvering, all conducted under a veil of secrecy. It involved key players in the Reagan administration, shady arms dealers, shadowy intermediaries, and a cast of characters that wouldn't be out of place in a John le Carré novel. The scandal eventually exploded into public view in 1985, when a Lebanese magazine revealed the secret arms sales. The ensuing investigations, congressional hearings, and independent counsel inquiries exposed a shocking level of deception and disregard for the law within the highest levels of government. The Iran-Contra Affair wasn't just a scandal. It was a full-blown constitutional crisis. It raised serious questions about the limits of executive power, the importance of congressional oversight, and the accountability of government officials. Buckle up, folks, because this next chapter is going to take you to a truly bizarre corner of Cold War history. We're talking about Operation Northwoods, a top-secret plan cooked up by the U.S. military and presented to the Kennedy administration in 1962. And this wasn't just any plan. This was a scheme to literally stage fake terrorist attacks on American soil as a pretext for invading Cuba. Let's just let that sink in for a moment. The U.S. government, in its infinite wisdom, considered faking acts of terrorism against its own citizens, all to justify a war. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a dystopian thriller, not in the annals of actual history. And while the plan was ultimately rejected by President Kennedy, the fact that it was even considered is deeply disturbing. Operation Northwoods envisioned a series of elaborate false flag operations, ranging from sinking a U.S. ship in Cuban waters to hijacking a plane and blaming it on Cuban operatives. They even considered fabricating evidence of Cuban involvement in attacks on U.S. military bases, all to whip up public support for an invasion. It's like something out of a bad spy movie, except the stakes were all too real. The plan revealed a chilling willingness to manipulate public opinion, to exploit fear and paranoia for political ends, and to potentially sacrifice American lives in the process. The fact that Operation Northwoods was even on the table speaks volumes about the mindset of the Cold War era. It was a time of heightened tensions, paranoia about communism, and a willingness to consider extreme measures in the name of national security. Thankfully, President Kennedy had the good sense to reject the plan, but the fact that it was even proposed is a sobering reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, the slippery slope of deception, and the importance of critical thinking in the face of government pronouncements. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to crack open the CIA's Pandora's box. This is the story of the Family Jewels, a collection of top-secret documents that revealed a shocking array of illegal and unethical activities conducted by the agency over decades. It's a story of assassinations, domestic spying, and covert operations that would make even the most jaded cynic question the very fabric of American democracy. Imagine a secret stash of documents, hidden away in the bowels of the CIA, detailing all the agency's dirty laundry. That's the Family Jewels, a collection of internal memos, reports, and other records that documented a staggering range of illegal activities, from assassination attempts on foreign leaders to the surveillance of American citizens. The Family Jewels were compiled in the early 1970s at the behest of then CIA Director James Schlesinger, who was concerned about the agency's growing disregard for the law. What he found was a Pandora's box of covert operations, many of which were conducted without proper authorization or oversight. The documents revealed a pattern of abuse and overreach, painting a picture of an agency that had become a law unto itself. It detailed assassination attempts on leaders like Fidel Castro and Patrice Lumumba, the surveillance of journalists and activists, and the infiltration of domestic political groups. The revelation of the family jewels, which was prompted by Seymour Hersh's investigative reporting in the New York Times, sent shockwaves through Washington. It triggered a series of congressional investigations and led to significant reforms in intelligence oversight, including the creation of the Senate's Select Committee on Intelligence. The family jewels served as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, the importance of transparency and accountability, and the need for robust oversight of intelligence agencies. It also highlighted the fragility of democratic institutions and the potential for abuse when power is concentrated in the hands of a select few. We've journeyed through the shadowy corridors of the CIA, uncovering secrets that were meant to stay buried. From mind control experiments to media manipulation, covert arms deals, and fabricated terrorist attacks, the stories we've explored paint a disturbing picture of an agency operating in the shadows, often with little regard for the law or ethical boundaries. These revelations raise fundamental questions about the role of intelligence agencies in a democracy, the balance between national security and individual liberties, and the importance of transparency and accountability. As we move forward, it's crucial to remember these stories, to learn from the mistakes of the past, and to demand better from those in power. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going because the truth, as they say, is out there.